There we go. There we go. We're in the championship rounds. All right, we're King Amin of Essex, but we talk about boxing news and everything in between. So this is different, man. This is different, man. We in season two. Season two, man. Episode 1. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. It's good to be on this leg of the journey, this leg of the career. When you talk about a fighter, you got out of being a club fighter, you got out of the ballroom fights, and now you're at least making it to the undercard. So here we are, season 2. Let's work.
Yeah, season 2. I mean, listen, man. It was we had our bumps like everybody else in terms of putting things together, but I think we was able to kind of get your voice out there the way we wanted to. So again, we're gonna turn it up a notch. We're gonna try to round off some edges, but most importantly, we're gonna keep doing what we do, which is bring your opinion when it comes to boxing news and everything else to the people, your supporters. So let's kind of have a recap. Talk about what you've been doing, talk about your blog, and then of course, we got to talk about your segment that you do. Thursdays and Sundays. I think it's still Thursdays and Sundays. Let's talk about the blog first.
Definitely, man. You got to check me out on Instagram. That's King Amin of Essex 1. Yeah, man. King _ Essex _ once you get it, it's gotten. And you definitely check me out throughout the week. And definitely on the weekends, you get all the fight coverage of what's happening, who's fighting, where they from, how many baby mothers they got, and what's going on with their career in terms of that particular night. So it's an archive and a series of events, all the fighting events, recaps on Sunday mornings, breaking news when it breaks, and everything in between. So definitely check me out on Instagram for that.
All right. And I know, we started introducing it halfway through the season. Last season, you got kind of a big kind of joint venture. You're doing a feature, on the Boxing Voice. So tell your supporters about that too, and how to find you on that.
Definitely, definitely making my contributions as a co-host and a contributor to the Boxing Voice. That's on the Boxing Voice on YouTube. Also check them out at thaboxingvoice.com. Very interactive boxing show, talk show, interviews, boxing news and notes. I'm definitely on there holding it down on the flagship, or what's considered the flagship shows, Thursdays and Sundays. Those particular shows carry you into the weekend. So Thursday, you get all your weekend predictions, and Sunday is the recaps and, the discussion of what's to come. So I'm definitely on that, in building and continuing to build over there and build over here. Definitely enjoying that journey as well. So y'all check me out on Thursdays and Sundays on the Boxing Voice for sure.
All right, that's what's up, man. Congratulations on that journey. We're gonna keep taking it. Bringing your opinions to the people when it comes, to the fighting game. So without further ado, let's get to the first article because people want to know your opinion on boxing. So this is a New York Times article. We all, should have been tuned into the big fights this weekend. The Stars was out in Atlanta. That was all anybody was talking about was Tank Davis, versus Mario Barrios. So, this New York Times article was kind of just talking about the spirit of the fight. So the title is Gervonta Davis win itself was a novelty, a title bout of undefeateds, right? So, they were obviously, we know how that fight was won in amazing fashion. We're going to get into that. Everybody probably should have seen the highlights by now. But what they were talking about in the article was how, Gervonta Tank Davis, won an old school high stakes matchup, kind of where he put something on the line, regardless of how you feel about it, we'll get into it. When kind of the novelty right now, or what's been the biggest and gotten the headlines is this novelty fights, right? So they were kind of, giving him his flowers, for putting on a good show and all of those things. But what did you think about the article and kind of the spirit that they was talking about in terms of this being an old school fight?
I'm glad that they were giving him his adulation and they wasn't, trying to criticize him, because one of the biggest things about this fight is that it gave people that feel that you might have known or recognized was watching. So, we
Right.
talk all the time. My mom's is, she want to watch Tank Davis. You get what I'm saying? My wife want to watch Tank Davis. You know what I'm saying? My son, 13 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, it was an event. I was in ATL this week. It was an event, man. And then just looking on TV, like the stars was out, brother. And that's a good thing. They said the place was sold out, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, 16,000 people showed up.
And I mean, little baby came, brought him out, man.
Yeah.
But, I had some questions, kind of about the fight for you. 2 knockdowns in round 8, in 11th, he dropped him. Listen, when I was watching the fight, we was debating over whether we should, it's 3 knockdowns or whether we should say it was 4. You know what I mean? But I just want to talk to you about the action, because if they hadn't stopped it, it would have, to me, I think it would have been 4, But what did you think of the fight? Were you surprised? Listen, the height difference, it looked crazy, and for Tank Davis to kind of go up, pull me back if if I go too far, but go up 2 weight classes, you know what I mean? That's kind of something you got to give him credit for himself. So what did you think of his performance? What was you, surprised or not? And, Barrios too.
Yeah, I think I was a little bit, he took the fight for a reason. Let me say that. And that is to no disrespect to Barrios, but only to the confidence of Tank. And, he's not the tallest of guys. Some people might have questioned this idea of can he carry his power, fighting at 130 and so on and so forth. And really my question throughout the years about Tank has always been his discipline and his commitment to making weight. Either stay at 130 and make weight, don't blow your weight class. But I've never doubted his skills. Still some things that, people say he can do it, but I'd like to see him do it. I like to see him, box a little bit more. They say he can box, because as a fan, I respect the power. I love the power, but I think boxing always come back to the, boxers. You know what I'm saying? We've seen that happen in all divisions. So as far as what him and Barrios did, it's the best marketing you can get, because Barrios himself, he made a great account, and he accepted the challenge. He wasn't worried about feeling pain about somebody saying, what if you lose? He said, yo, we're going to line it up and we're going to see what happens. He tried to, Barrios didn't stay tall the whole fight. I don't know if it was just the Mexican pride, man, but he didn't stay tall the whole fight. And Tank figured him out. When I think when people were concerned about them earlier rounds, Tank was down, a la Mayweather. So, once he got on, he seemed to really control. Really, the 8th round, I'm watching the fight, and I'm not thinking he's losing, but I'm saying to myself, I wonder if he can hurt Barrios. Maybe I was questioning at that point, could he hurt Barrios? And then, sure as shit, man, Floyd said what he said to him, and bop, bop, boot. You know what I'm saying? He slid that dude, man.
So maybe you answered my question, but what most impressed you about, or surprised you about Tank in this fight?
I was surprised that he wasn't hurt by Barrios's power.
Okay.
That's always my question. So one of the other points about moving up 2 weight classes, Jay, everybody gonna say, yo, it was weight classes for a reason. So that means the bigger guy and the bigger weight. And Tank didn't ask for no hydration clauses. You get what I'm saying? So the fight was at 140. Okay. As long as you weigh in 140, sometimes depending on what they do.
Yeah, explain that a little bit with hydration clauses, because I think I understand it, but I don't.
Okay. So if a fight is contracted at a certain weight division, let's take this fight was contracted at 140 pounds. This is a junior welterweight, right? 140 pounds. You have some fighters, some divisions, some circumstances, they'll say, listen, we fighting at 140, but this joker better not come in this ring a pound over 151. There's no way he should be able to hydrate 11 pounds overnight.
Right.
And then some fighters is going to say, yo, I know how it can happen and I don't care, because they may understand this dude may have come in there totally emaciated. You know what I'm saying? Strip it down to his drawers like a bag of bones just to make that weight. So he drinking, drinking a smoothie, and eating protein the minute he, get into a certain spot, right? So some fighters will just disregard, whatever kind of what some might consider a safety hazard and say, I don't care what that man blow up to. As long as he make weight, he could come in there 160 pounds. I bet I whoop him, And that's where the danger is.
Okay.
Because Tank didn't stay already being a smaller man 2 divisions down. He said, all right, if he come in, 156 pounds, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know what he came in, but I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Barrios is the one that fight at 140 pounds. So.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying because you're talking about the risk with going up in weight.
And so the fact that Tank was walking forward on him, walking him down, and like I said, he was doing some pretty slick moves. He was parrying some shit and rolling some things. But when he just was, concerned about the scorecard and he just started landing them powerful shots and was not fazed by Barrios' power, that's when I say, yo, he's special. He's special. Because it don't matter, about, what we think about, if he hurting Barrios. The question was the bigger man going to be able to hurt the seemingly smaller guy? And it didn't seem to faze him.
So, question, I mean, the earlier rounds, was he filling them out, or did Barrios have him confused, or is that just his Tank style to kind of wait?
I think it's a Tank. I don't want to say he's a slow starter, but I think people don't. I think somebody like me, let's just say you're still waiting to see how much he's going to box before he start going to the power.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And he found an appropriate time in this fight. You know what I'm saying? He found a very appropriate time. He thought he was down on the scorecards, and he didn't panic. He applied pressure. That's the gift that you cannot teach. When he thought he was down on the scorecards, which so let me talk about that a bit too. That's something called open scoring. In some states, they have open scoring, meaning maybe, at halfway through the fight, 8th round, they announce, the scorecards to the fighters. Sometimes fighters find that nerve-wracking. Sometimes they find it helpful, right? So it's a majority of fighters that'll probably tell you they find it nerve-wracking. They don't want to know if they're down or seemingly down, right? So for him to know and for him not to panic, for him to apply pressure, again, the smaller guy that stepped up 2 weight classes, and he applied pressure in that way. It wasn't an idea of him disrespecting Barrios. It was just him handling business in the ring in front of whoever was going to be in the ring that night. And that's, I think that made it very special.
So, all right, 2 questions before we move on to the next article. Floyd Mayweather Jr., right? His promoter, mentor. During the fight, it was, obviously all over, they mic'd up. He was like, his trainer wasn't really talking to him. Floyd came, I guess, from the stands or whatever and said, you lose. Or something to that effect. You know what I'm saying? Stepped it up. I need you. I know you got it in you. You a dog. You lose, but you losing. Something like that. Yeah. And then, Tank kind of got another gear, or it seemed that he had another gear in him, So what did you think of that approach? Does it say more about their relationship? Because I don't think it was a bad thing. So I'm not setting it up like that in any way. I think it was great. I thought it honestly showed another side of Mayweather that maybe people choose to ignore or don't want to see. Because great mentors can only motivate like their greatest students like that. But people want to know what you think. So what did you think of Mayweather's approach?
Well, again, I think some people might have found it unconventional, but that's what a good trainer is going to do. Floyd, got up out his seat and he walked over. He had something to say, whether he saw something or, he wanted to give him that information. Like I said, pressure bust pipes or make diamonds. It don't matter what Floyd said.
Right.
How Tank responded, because the fact that he would even, do that with Tank, to your point, suggests that his relationship and what he thinks about Tank's potential is a lot higher than he's probably experienced with some other fighters,
Right.
And I would add this too. I think, Floyd is an unconventional genius in that, he's done things to fuck with Tank head and to motivate him. So, when there was footage of Floyd working with Devin Haney, you know what I'm saying? Training, working on a few tips with him. and Tank is back east, you know, because of whatever, you know, Tank, you know, he doesn't have the ability to travel, leave his family, whatever kind of regard, whatever he got going on. You know, he looking like, yo, why you training Devin Haney? Why you working with Haney? You know what I'm saying? Floyd is just like, yo, I'm just getting some good work, you know? I'm just getting some good work, you know? Anybody want to get some good work, right? So, if, you know, he going to fuck with your head, man. He going to make you step it up, you know what I'm saying? So, yo, again, credit to Tank, and you're right. It does show a different side of Floyd that I think people should appreciate.
So kind of a different article, Boxing News 24/7, but kind of adding on to the fight. Now, you know, now we got Tank Davis jumping up 2 weight classes. Josh Taylor has something to say. So Josh Taylor says Gervonta Davis versus Mario Barrios is for a Mickey Mouse title. So obviously he's throwing major shade at the fight. He kind of cleared it up and was like, he was saying he wasn't really talking about them, but he was kind of talking about it's because it was a secondary belt. So can you explain like what a secondary belt is, and then talk about what you think about Josh Taylor's kind of stance and his comments, you know, that his belt is the one that counts the most in the eyes of the fan, the WBA light welterweight belt?
I'm gonna break down the belt situation first, and then I'm gonna go right into Josh Taylor. So how the belt system, secondary belts, and all those things work is that this. First of all, it's like 4, depending on who you ask, you know, 5 sanctioning bodies, you know, if you include the ring, right? You got the WBA, the WBO, the IBF, the IBO, the WBC, and what's the other one I can't think of? In the ring, right? So you have all these belts, and within each sanctioning body, one sanctioning body or another may decide that they're going to have an interim or a regular or a silver or an international or a what's it, what you may call a franchise belt. And the bottom line is this: the belts add shimmer. It's makeup on your woman. You know what I'm saying? She might be bad without it, but the makeup give her a little bit. It's a waist trainer on her. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, she got a nice shape, but the waist trainer, you know what I'm saying? She like she belong in the video. It's window dressing for something that should already be satisfying, is what I'm saying to you, brother. Because so you got these belts, and he's right on one account. The belt, you know, may not be an official WBA belt because WBA, he's right. He's absolutely right. But the problem with his argument is that Mario Barrios fought for that belt and earned that belt however he earned it, right? It's a sanctioning body. Your girl gave it away. Who would ever think that she was spread like mustard? Like, if it's an interim and the regular and the super, but it's all WBA, why you make, like she's giving it away. They're giving out the belts. They gave you one, and then they gave him one. They may give me one. These hoes ain't loyal, right? So he's complaining. All right, so that's one aspect, right? Again, so let me not say, and maybe that part is not Josh Taylor's argument, because think about it like this: he's got to defend his journey. He got all the belts, undisputed, so he has to say, anybody with another belt, your shit is fake. I respect it, but Jay, think about it like this. It's what makes me and you a little bit different. What he's doing is like, yo, you can't make your money off of your GED and a CDL and be a millionaire too. He's saying the only way you can be recognized, you have to get a college degree and a master's degree, advanced degrees, and you got to be W.B. Du Bois. Tank is Booker T with it. The belt don't mean as much as is the value of his fight, the value of his name, his association with Floyd. You know what I'm saying? He could fight me next. That's exactly why they would announce and say, yo, our camp, we're going to keep it in-house. Now, that part I don't necessarily agree with, but just going back to Josh Taylor and the belts, he has to defend the whole purpose and the idea that the belts mean everything. And I'm not saying that's foolish. I'm saying as the undisputed guy, you went out and collected them shits, they better mean something to you, right? But if Tank fought a guy that has a version of the belt, Tank didn't give him that version of the belt. It was a sanctioning body. So Josh Taylor's argument, if it's pointed towards a sanctioning body, then he has a lot of merit. If it's pointed at Tank or even Barrios, then he's going to sound like a hater. You muted. You muted, bro. You muted.
Oh, my bad. I messed up before. But what I was saying is, I don't think that, I think he thought about it if maybe that's what he was doing at first, right? Because when you say Mickey Mouse belt, then obviously whoever has it, he's taking a shot at that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then he kind of came back and cleaned it up a little bit when he was talking about the real problem is that it confuses the public about who the real champ is. So do you think that's a valid point, that it confuses the public? Or because I've asked you that question at different times. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's 3 different champs. Like, or how many belts is this guy gonna have? You know what I mean? That's why it looks so crazy. And pull me back if I'm, but it looks so crazy when Canelo is standing up there. He need another person to hold the belts with him.
Yeah.
Is that because he got all of those belts, right?
Because he got belts that he fought the guys that had the belt and beat him, but he also fought guys that had versions of belts that maybe there's another guy out there with the belt.
Yeah.
But here's what those belts do though too. They set up the fight. So now, if you think it's a Mickey Mouse title and it's an interim, you know what happens with the interim? You're the interim principal, right? Right? You're the interim, like you're temporary. So that has to be resolved, right? So now it becomes, can he talk his way into that fight? Is that fight worth Tank's time? Or does Tank say, shit, I'm the other champ and we're gonna work it out on my time? No, whether he actually wants to or not, right? Whether he actually wants to or not, he could sit there and say, yeah, I got the other title, so I'm gonna meet Josh Taylor. I just want to defend my belt a couple times. He could be bullshitting, or he could just say relinquish the belt and say, you know what? And I'm just putting this shit into the universe because the WBC will make up a belt. He could jump to 147 and fight Danny Garcia. And everybody gonna say, yo, but that fight ain't gonna mean nothing because Danny didn't move up to 150. So, like, the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, it's embracing the inherent danger makes it a feat of greatness. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, Danny is a damn good fighter at 147 because he's fought the best at 147. But if we're being truthful, he was his best at 140. So really, it would be against the former undisputed junior welterweight champion, which is a hell of a litmus test coming off of saying, well, oh, yo, you fought Mario Barrios with his fake belt. Well, how about you fight the former undisputed 140-pound champion? You know what I'm saying? I think that's a good fight, to make, especially Danny's always been a small 147-pounder. So to me, they talk about more of a Mikey Garcia fight than a Danny Garcia fight, but I like the Danny Garcia fight.
Okay. So kind of in that vein in terms of like, moving up or taking that chance, in general, taking fights, maybe that I don't want to say that you should, but instead of, taking the fight, I guess that's right, instead of kind of cherry picking a little bit. This article's out of Boxing Scene. Erickson Lubin knocks out Jeison Rosario, right, in the 6th of the WBCA Eliminator. So we saw this. I was watching this fight. This was a good knockout. What did you think, man? Lubin was in trouble in the 3rd. He overcame some challenges. I think that's why us as viewers kind of like that fight, especially because it ended in a knockout. Ended up putting down Rosario in the 6th, I believe, twice. And then the fight got stopped. So what did you think? And what did you think when you kind of saw that left-right jab combo that stopped the fight?
First of all, shout out to Kevin Cunningham for helping Erickson Lubin revitalize and rejuvenate his career. He's now 6-0 since linking up with Kevin Cunningham. Kevin Cunningham's been a long time. He's out of St. Louis. longtime trainer of Devin Alexander. He's out in Florida now. And, we grew up around mad Haitians, so I had the Haitian bias. I was rooting for Lubin anyway, you know what I'm saying? I thought that he did well by not being drawn into a firefight, which he's known to do. And I'm glad that he boxed against a guy that's got power in his own right. You know what I'm saying? But Banana Man got power in his own right. So, it was a good fight because it kept his momentum going, and it was another common opponent with Jermell Charlo. So I think that fight is getting ready to be made. As long as Charlo doesn't think about moving up to 160 pounds to join his brother. If he stays in 154, then. But then it's a possibility. Imagine, for whatever reason, I don't know, Charlo moved up, and then all of a sudden, Lubin is fighting, for the vacant titles, in an eliminator. He tried to kill whoever his opponent is. Even Bill Collins, he been waiting for this moment. he suffered a setback. You know what I'm saying?
Yo. So let's Well, I won't wait. All right, yeah, I got you back now. All right, so let's kind of talk about that. So some people were talking about this was a risky fight, because, Lubin was the #1 contender, for Charlo, WBC belt, right? As I think he was kind of insinuating before, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Like, because again, if this fight wouldn't have turned out as well, he would have he would have got knocked out. That might have changed that, right? So what does it say about a fighter, that's willing to kind of take these fights in between, a big shot like that, and they're not kind of protecting themselves? Like, what do you think what does that say, if anything, about a fighter or about this guy, really?
Yo, it proves what we all thought about Erickson Lubin, and it proves, that boxers and fighters and these guys, these combat sports guys, the real ones, they don't care about them losses, man. They're not hiding that.
Okay.
They're not hiding that. It almost makes you better to have lost. In some regard, nobody say you should lose. You know what I'm saying? But the loser is the guy that doesn't understand how to take a loss.
Right.
So when you can bounce back and show your resiliency, I mean, shit. Again, some people fold up after a loss.
Listen.
What's even worse, after you lose, you create a facade. You build up your resume against guys that ain't, you know what I mean? Because you scared along the way, and then you do something like you retire, like, because you fought a couple guys, because you wanted to say, yo, y'all retired to win champion, retired to winner, It's all kinds of false perceptions and realities you can create for yourself.
But listen, it depends, because, we talk about this, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but you always talked about how Canelo's loss changed him, right? Or how, how I guess how he approached, the fight. I don't want to get too deep, but you've always kind of said that, right? Like he changed as a fighter after that fight.
Anthony Joshua as well.
What'd you say?
Anthony Joshua as well, man.
Okay.
Those are two fighters right away, modern era. You see them take a loss, and the loss doesn't necessarily mean anything. And then on the business end, you know what I'm saying? Depending on what Keith Thurman does, I mean, his market value is still high. Or the aforementioned Danny Garcia. He lost to everybody at the top of the welterweight division. But his value was in his heart and his ability. You know what I'm saying? That what he represented. You know what I'm saying? As a fighter, as a man, as a contender, like, yo, if you get past Danny Garcia, now we're kind of to the point to where, you start to look and say, yeah, Danny Garcia. But at that time, it's like, yo, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? If you think you're that tough, get in there with Danny Garcia. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's honor. That's honor. Because you're still getting paid. Like, so who's losing? Where's the loss then? Where's the loss?
So finally, I kind of want to ask you about, just basically about how Lubin, performed, against Charlo a couple of years ago. And what do you think his chances would be against him now? If they better, worse? I already think I know what you say the outcome is going to be, but, I want to, what's your thoughts? Tough fight, what?
Yo, he didn't have enough time to perform because he got clipped with something good. Again, the Charlos, they're more technically sound than people want to give him credit for. So Lubin got slept early in that fight. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't hang his head about it. He didn't cry about it. He didn't whine about it. He bounced back. He didn't bounce back fighting tomato peanut. He bounced back fighting tough competition. His fight against Terrell Gachet was definitely a tough fight. And then this one. So these two fights back to back, he's waiting to get in there with Charlo. Again, if Charlo decides to stay, they have to get that
fight on. Okay. All right, so listen, we're gonna move on to our last article for the day. We'll talk about this at another time why these fights was on the same night. But we had, Vasyl Lomachenko, versus Nakatoni, right?
Yep.
I'm not gonna massacre his first name. This was billed as kind of like a statement win for Lomachenko. We all know, what happened in October versus Teofimo Lopez. Even though, that was a surprising loss for many people. I don't know how you felt about it, you know what I mean? But I wasn't expecting him to lose, maybe because I didn't know enough about Lopez. But what did you think about this win? Was it an impressive win? Do you think this changes? I mean, I didn't think the loss changed people's perception, but do you think this changes, the perception of Loma?
I look at this a couple ways, man. Visually, I saw some things that happened to Loma where, not to say with 2 losses, he's not, good in the division, but I'm saying I saw a punch or a couple punches he got hit with that I said, he don't look all super fantastic like they was hyping him up to be. Now, here's what I got to give him credit for, and I cannot take away from him. He stopped Nakatani, and Tio didn't. Tio went to a decision with Nakatani, and Loma stopped him. So now is that because Nakatani been through wars? You know what I'm saying? He just came out of war with Verdejo. You know what I'm saying? Like where he got knocked down twice.
Right.
Like so. Is he shop worn? And they fed him and they said, well, shit, Loma, if you can get past Nakatani, we could dress you up. You know what I'm saying? It's like how they used to do with cars back in inspection days. You know what I mean? That's inspection. I'll roll you off the lot. I don't give a, you know what I mean? So
I mean, listen, this was an impressive showing. I'm just talking about putting them away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And listen, like we always talk about is like when you win, like, especially when you win big, I mean, listen, you got to fight the opponent in front of you, right? Regardless of what they going through and all of that. So, you got to give them credit for the win. I think it was a good win. What do you think in terms of moving forward? The chatter around this fight was kind of how Teofimo Lopez Sr. was on his way down to the ring and they stopped him. And I guess he got the message out, that they want, obviously, that they'll be open to a rematch. Bob Arum has put that in the air. But this game kind of in and out. So is that some bullshit or is that something that might happen?
So remember the conversation, I don't know if it was, last or 2 episodes before, I told you Triller might be out of business because when the Paul boys, or at least one of them, signed over to Showtime, they had to promise at least 2 fights over there. So what it probably was, or who knows, but I would say at least the 2 fights. So I'm sure that it was Logan's fight with Floyd and then Big's fight with Woodley. You know what I'm saying? Now, so now they're not even on Triller anymore, right? So initially, Tio, he left Top Rank because Triller offered him so much money. Suppose Triller's bag was contingent on the Paul, so they don't have that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I said that they pushed that fight back twice. The first time they pushed it back was when Floyd did his press conference and announced the fight. They moved their fight. Oh, we thought it was going to be at the same venue, right? Okay. Then they fuck around with the whole COVID shit the week of the fight. So that's what I'm telling you. Triller don't have the money that they ass betting on some CeeLo shit. They don't have the money that they think they have. So now what happens is everybody got to come back to the table because Tio maybe said, I'm all speculating, but I'm just using my common sense. Well, yeah, we'll sit out. Fuck it. I'm still going to sit out. just because Trilla ain't got no bread, that don't mean I'm gonna come back. Well, just come on, we're gonna work something out. We're gonna work something out. You know, I ain't gonna give you the $6 million that they was gonna give you, but I can give you 3.5. You know what I mean?
Right.
So all right, cool. How we gonna do this? Everybody save face. Teal's still home recovering. Pops come out there like, now, for me personally, the reason why Loma won that fight, it was a stoppage, and this was the point I was trying to make. It had to be life or death. He had to stop him. He had to stop him. So for me,
right.
It looked like if it was a life or death fight. It didn't look like he was punishing somebody and beating him down. It was like, yo, you or me, and I'm gonna get you.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So that subtle nuance is still not ready for Teal.
Okay.
That's not ready.
That's why I was asking you. Like that's so. Do you think Teofimo Lopez Sr. sees barbecue chicken or what?
He sees chicharron and yellow rice.
Okay.
You know
so
what I mean?
they ready to eat. I ain't mad. And see, that kind of leads into my first question. Like, was Romo? I'm sorry, Romo. You know I'm a Dallas fan. Yeah, my bad. Was Lomo surprised? My bad. Was Lomo just surprised during the first fight with Tio? Did he sleep on Tio, or was he just overmatched? Like, I mean, did Tio just whoop him that day?
And that was the thing. I think Tio that particular day, Tio was on his game. Tio was stronger. He was faster. He was quicker to the punch, and he was ready to counter, the quick guy. You know what I'm saying? And he made Loma chase him down and try to pound him up, and then change the rhythm on Loma. He did some really good things. Really masterful boxing. Again, he outboxed the boxer, and a lot of it wasn't necessarily when he was punching. It was just changing the rhythm of the fight, so Loma couldn't get comfortable and throw all them fast, flashy shots. So a lot of boxing IQ was applied for Tio to win that fight. He's not going to lose that. Physically, unless somehow his ego deters him, I don't see him getting any sort of deterioration. He's going to get better. He's going to come in there more ready saying, I just whooped this guy. And he's going to say the same thing I said. I just whooped this guy, and I saw you win a life and death against Nakatani. Like,
So listen, to kind of put, to kind of wrap this subject up, let's kind of, talk about this division. It's exciting, right? We got Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Tank Davis, Devin Haney, we got Teofimo Lopez, we were just talking about, Lomachenko. I'm gonna just ask you straight out. We all respect this division. Everybody better respect this division. You know what I mean? But is it the most exciting division in boxing to you? Is it one of the most? Because we're starting to look at these names, and you could see, these are names people talk about, man. I mean, and people go to the television to watch at this point. So, what do you think?
Yeah, man, they're definitely part of that nexus of the boxing universe, man. They're part of that division where it's so deep, and it's a lot of fighters that are flirting between 130 and 140. And that's what I think Tank's jump signifies. You know what I'm saying? You got, somebody like Devin Haney, he's going to hang out at 130 for a little bit longer, but you know what I'm saying? 140 is probably where he will land at eventually. You know what I'm saying? For the right fight, you know what I'm saying? He might could stay at 135, And then you got, somebody like Tank, apparently he's going from 130 to 140, right? So what that does too, and I think Tio for some reason seems to be the biggest, physically, or at least he appears to be. I think, eventually you could see Tio at 140 as well. So, what that means is even if the fights don't happen now, they could meet in later divisions because the weight class is relatively low. But those guys could still end up meeting each other between 140 and 147 for those that might, get a little bit on the heavier side. So it's very exciting. Again, it's one of those divisions where it's so deep. You think of all the top names right now that ain't heavyweight, they're probably flirting around 130 to 140, And the interesting thing is, too, it's different from the welterweight division because the biggest holdup about the welterweight division is those guys don't fight each other. It might be the actually deepest division in terms of actual fighters, active fighters. But the truth is, the guys in the welterweight division, especially at the top level, are not fighting each other. You know what I'm saying? So, between 130 and 140.
Yeah, kind of like we had this conversation mad time.
Yeah.
So you don't have to answer this directly, but I'm gonna just ask you. So Ryan Garcia, this is the general consensus. He got a big social media following, so he's like got a lot of fan favorite, support kind of. Tank Davis has a lot of support from boxing. They calling him boxing biggest star right now. You know what I mean? In terms of support within that world, Teofimo Lopez by far has the biggest win out of these guys. So who is the most relevant in the division?
So what have you done for me lately? And that would be Tank.
That would be Tank Davis, right?
Yeah. Now I think second would be Tio because of the when it boils down to both those guys, when it boils down to two aspects of boxing, and again, I think that's the fight that I'd like to see the most between all of them. Tank is clearly going to bring the numbers and he brings the excitement, and he still has some more boxing skills to show people. You know what I'm saying? Some people question and say, oh, he's a wizard, he's a master. Cool. He still got shit he got to prove. Now, the thing with Tio, proved it against Loma. That's a very big scalp that he get to walk around with for a pretty, long time. And if you kill him twice, that's like when Andre Ward beat Kovalev. You beat this boogeyman twice. You know what I'm saying? It's like, stop with the boogeyman shit if I beat him twice.
That's going to be, listen, man, that's going to be must-see TV, bro, So we're going to move to our next segment. Listen, so we always do the ABCs. We introduced that last season where we kind of have King Amin at Essex break down a subject aspect or, highlight, some good things about a historical fighter, right? So this season, we're going to focus on historical fighters and we're kind of going to get your opinion, your perspective of these fighters. So, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago and we had you pick somebody, you thought about it. You picked Chad Dawson to start off, right?
Yeah.
So let's start off with some demographic info. Just, introduce, him. I'm sure all the listeners have heard of Chad Dawson, but just to kind of set the stage of what we're talking about, and then we'll kind of go beneath the surface a little bit. Weight class, fighting style, trainer, those type of things.
So Chad Dawson, he's went under the name Bad Chad Dawson. He was born in South Carolina, actually, but he was raised in New Haven, Connecticut. Chad Dawson is a southpaw. He's a pretty tall guy. I think he might be like 6'2", 6'3". Length, he got like a basketball build, you know what I'm saying? Just to give you a frame of mind, I think Robert Easter, you know what I'm saying, but a little bit more weight on him. He fought at 168, which is super middleweight, and then he danced a couple times at light heavyweight. But he was the man at 168. Southpaw, and he was trained by his father very, early on in his career and a lot of his success. And then he ended up linking up with John Iceman Scully, also out of Connecticut. So they made a pretty good pairing for a long time.
Any info about, a little personal information about family, like upbringing, anything like that?
Yeah, one of the interesting and the things I always liked about Chad Dawson, that he was a family man. So he was always big up his wife, you know what I'm saying? And I think he's got 5 kids. Cool dude, always bring him to the ring. And that's how the old school fighters was, say win or lose, they bring their kids to the ring, you know what I'm saying? They go with dad to the office type shit. So definitely, he's got a son now. I believe his son, I don't know if he's amateur, but he's got a son now, 20 years old, maybe older than that. But that's what I know about him as far as that, man.
All right, so let's get down to the nitty gritty in terms of in the ring. Notable fights, opponents, and then any challenges.
Now, when he got on my radar, I would say, but between 2005, early in the game, 2005, 2006, but his most notable win, how he actually got him on. This is how Jersey is always involved in it. Over Tomasz Adamek is a Polish cat, out of Poland, but he trained out of North Bergen in Jersey City, New Jersey. So him always fighting that, Thomas Adamek, he was, pretty good in that division, 168. So to know that he was a Jersey guy, and I'm like, it's kind of a localish fight, you know what I'm saying? They fought in, I think in New York or something, I'm not sure, but that's how he got on my radar, fighting a Jersey cat. And winning masterfully, you know what I'm saying? I can't remember the outcome of that fight. Maybe it was a stoppage, or maybe he just beat him all, 12 rounds. But he beat him very decisively in that fight. And that's when I was like, okay, I like this guy, Chad Dawson. He beat up on the Jersey guy.
Okay. Now, of course, we're not, trying to, dump on anybody or nothing like that. And this is something I just threw in. So, we might expound on it or not. But any challenges in his career?
No. As a matter of fact, he's got some notable wins over Antonio Tarver, legends like Glenn Johnson, you know what I'm saying? He's lost to the best as well. He's lost Andre Ward. He beat Bernard Hopkins as well, too. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So Chad Dawson, and mind you, your resume is as good as how your opponents go on to do. So after he beat Bernard went on to fight and win the title from cats from Joe Smith and shit or whatever the fuck. Or no, he got knocked out by Joe Smith, but from Kelly Pavlik.
Oh, Kelly Pavlik.
You know so it's these guys have gone on to continue to do pretty well for themselves, but that's how you know the mark of someone's greatness. Now, you asked about has he had any challenges, truthfully. The only thing I could say is maybe his passion for the sport. He was one of them guys, you know what I'm saying? Just quiet, cool. He did his job and he went home. But if he was off, you could tell it's like it was just something that might have been bothering him. And you're like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? Well, it was rare, but it was definitely towards the end of his career. Now, that could have been promotional issues. That could have been anything. No drinking, no drugging, no bullshit like that. He kept it pretty square, and which I think contributed to his long-term success.
So we do this every week, so you might as well get used to answering these last two questions. So why did you pick him today? So we started off, you could have picked anybody. You know what I'm saying? You could have went all the way back in the crates. So why did you start off with Chad Dawson?
So 2 reasons. Number one, Chad Dawson, like I said, I found Chad Dawson, and you're going to remember this, that times when, cats around us, they could go out and party and chill, and I had to kind of keep it close to the spot because I had to study or I had the things I had to do. So if I'm watching Friday Night Fights or I'm just trying to go to the Palace, shout out to the Palace, and I'm trying to watch something on TV, I'm like, yo, turn this, this television on and whoop, 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 and I get a chance to watch Chad Dawson happen to be on TV. So boxing, became, visually something that I could watch while I'm out in the bar or whatever. And then also, too, because the man just don't get enough recognition. I mean, what he did to the sport and his offensive style. Like, if you want to know how to fight or some smooth killer shit, like Chad Dawson, he ain't never throw less than a 3 to 4 punch combination. He jabbed, and then it was 3 or 4. Jab, 3, 4, 5, 6. Jab, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 punches I done seen them throw. And land every bit of 5 to 6 of them shits. Masterfully offensive. Kind of reminds you of like Peyton Manning in that his offense is his defense. Or even Aaron Rodgers. It's just, I'm a Packers boy. You know what I'm saying? Your offense is your defense. You know what I'm saying? You might hit me, but you have to hit me with these punches you eat. Dig what I'm saying? So he was very masterful in his point. He doesn't get enough recognition for it. The guys that held the titles after him, yes, they've gone on to do great things, but he really added cachet to the super middleweight division as far as I'm concerned. He added cachet to that belt.
Okay. And last but not least, we're going to be asking this question every week. And we're going to kind of keep a tally, keep track of what you say. And at the end of the season, we're going to kind of review. But if you were putting together your dream video game boxer, right? Your dream video game boxer, he could have any parts that you want. What part of this fighter would you include and why?
Combinations, punching, combinations. I'm telling you, just watch some shit, man. Like I'm telling you, he was a southpaw, so immediately those that know boxing, especially if you fight a conventional fighter and you're a southpaw, your jab and their jab is going to nullify each other. So if you got any sort of straight right, or excuse me, if you got any sort of nice left, like a straight left, or you could do anything with a left, a little short back hook with the left, you can be dangerous in that. Again, they're going to try to come jab and y'all going to nullify, and then you may come and pop them, right? And so what I would always watch him do is he would come nullify with the jab. Maybe he would double, or maybe he would go straight left. If he doubled the jab, he would come with a straight left and then maybe give himself some space and then come with the right hook or to the body. If he didn't double, he would nullify, come with the straight left, and then come up from the body with a right hook and then over the top. That was like a basic series, a combination for Chad. And this is all off the jab. This is what I'm saying. So if I had to pick something about him that I was going to make my perfect fighter, that's that right there, man.
Okay. All right. So we're going to hold you to that. Chad Dawson, we talking about combinations or punching and bunches, right? Combination?
Yeah, combination punching.
Okay, combination punching. All right, cool. So that's week one. All right, so moving as we always do, we appreciate them ABCs. That's free game for everybody. I'm gonna say, get that history lesson, without going to the library. But each week we're gonna do this. We're gonna highlight, either current or historically kind of relevant fighter, anybody you choose, and we're gonna kind of talk a little bit about it. So last but not least, let's kind of talk about some upcoming fights. We got Chris Colbert versus Tug Nyambayar.
Nyambayar.
Yeah, Nyambayar. I said it right in pieces. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we got Chris Colbert versus Tug Nyambayar. You know what I'm saying? So this is for Colbert's WBA intern junior lightweight title. Excuse me, I don't know what's wrong with me. So what's up with that fight? Why should we tune into it? And what do you expect?
So again, just point out something real quick. Another example. He's got a WBA interim.
Right.
Like, who's going to tell him he's not a champ? Who's going to tell him you know what I'm saying? Like, why?
Right.
Did he steal it out of somebody's fucking gym bag? No. The fucking section of body gave him the belt, man.
Right.
How's he not a champ? You know what I'm saying? He's not a real champ. Right? So, anyway, just to put respect on Chris Colbert's position, he's in for some shit, man, because Tug is a come forward fighter, but he is a tough guy, and he gonna keep coming forward. And Colbert, I think, got some good power. I'd like to see how his cardio and his lateral movement holds up against a guy like Tug, because he's gonna have to create some angles to create the punches that he wants to hurt Tug. If he just want to throw jabs and pick and pop and just box, he can do that. But Tug is going to keep coming and try to, maybe wing some shots and slow him down, go to the body. But I think Colbert can create some angles and throw some powerful shots if he wants to hurt Tug. I'm not trying to say get him up out of there. I just mean just to demonstrate, maybe some gears, if you will, to show that he can punch with power and he can box. Because I think it's a lot of pressure on these young guys. He's a young guy, and I think it's a lot of pressure every time. Again, we don't know a guy. He's supposed to get him up out of there. So I'd like for him to not feel like he has the pressure of having to knock Tug out. Now, the original opponent was supposed to be Yurikas Gamboa, and there was a lot of mixed opinions about that, because on one hand, people say Gamboa ain't shit, but he was good enough for Terrence Crawford to fight him, right? He was good enough for Devin Haney. He was good enough for Tank to fight him. You know what I'm saying? Those are three of the top guys that fought him. So that would have been good for Gamboa to see for Colbert to see how he would fare against, you know, a common opponent in that regard. But he's in there against, you know, a good opponent that I think give him an equally good litmus test. So that's why we're looking out for that one.
All right, and last but not least, we got Rashard Hitchens out of Brooklyn versus Darwin Price. This is a 10-round junior welterweight fight. What do you think about that? You know, what's interesting about this one?
Yeah, Richardson Hitchens, he fighting out, I think, on 140 pounds, which is, again, these are young guys. We talked about all that movement between 130, 135, 140 pounds. He's up there. He may be, you know, staying there as long as his body can withstand. But just shout out to him. He's a Brooklyn boy. You know, trying to, you know, Darwin Price, I believe he's been around for a little bit as far as a notable opponent. But, you know, Hitchens is a puncher. That's what I know about Hitchens. So we're gonna see if he's gonna keep up his display of power, and you know, shout out to the Brooklyn guys.
All right. Well, listen, before we get out of here, you know, we definitely, you know, gonna keep things rolling for season 2, but we want you to definitely promote yourself. So, you know, talk about where everybody can find you. Before you say that, I just want to thank anybody who, you know, listens. Please continue to listen, like the video, subscribe. Tune in to my man on his blog, you know, and on his where he's featured as a co-host on the Boxing Voice. But tell them where they can find you and when they can find you.
Hey, definitely check me out on Instagram for the blog, King Amin of Essex 1. Got new posts, information. Check it out. You can go and actually check out some of the old stuff because really it's a really cool archive. It'll help catch you up on what the hell's going on in boxing since the last 2 years or what have you. Also check me out. I sneak in there every now and again in the mornings, but for sure the flagships on Thursdays and Sundays on the Boxing Voice, TBV podcast. That's on YouTube at the Boxing Voice. You can call in, you can super chat, you can chat, regular chat, but definitely check me out on there doing my due diligence. And check us out here. We are back for season 2. Adding a different twist to it. We're gonna get to it. Thank you guys for checking us out. Let us know in the comments section. Give us a thumbs up and tell a friend and tell a friend.
All right, my brother. We're going to wait for that bell to take me out. That's round 1. Next week.